The 7 activist scholars you are about to meet have left an indelible mark upon the U.S. peace movement. Each has done so at the expense of their careers and even spent time in prison. They will present their political biographies, their philosophies of nonviolent civil disobedience, the interpretation of Christianity which inspires their work, and they will discuss racism in the peace movement itself.
Well, I come out of a Republican Goldwater background, which seems a little strange, and I'm not just sure how I got from there to here. I think one of the things was that I was a blue baby, and for the first year they didn't know whether I would live or die. And so I got a lot of attention, a lot of loving care, and I think that is what really makes people love people, is to have that kind of treatment, so that you have love to give. And that has to be the most important aspect of my belief and my activities, is that I care about people. And there's no limit, there's no exceptions. If a person is a murderer, you look at the background and you try to understand why they are a murderer. It isn't that they are bad people. It's just that they've had difficult times that brought them into those situations. So from there, it was fairly easy to realize that the first part of my life was more on integration. And before I ever knew the term civil disobedience, I was down in Nashville, Tennessee, and for the first time I saw a white drinking fountain and a black drinking, what they call colored drinking fountain, and I was so incensed with the idiocy of it that I immediately walked up and took a drink out of the colored drinking fountain. I have no idea whether anybody was around or not. I just simply couldn't stand it, and so that was the beginning of what really my life's been about.
I was born in Indiana, rural Indiana. My folks were tenant farmers. I guess the big thing about my life, in a sense, is that I was a male born at a time that made me 18 years old in the middle of a couple of wars. So my early experience with social conscience had to do with war and whether to participate, and I decided at an early age that I shouldn't participate. This was, I think, a combination of my family background and the fact that the schools at that time were saying that war was pretty stupid and we never do it again. At any rate, I wound up in an alternative service for conscientious objectors for a while, changed my mind about that, and eventually served 3 prison sentences, various lengths, as a war resistor. And it was about that time that Polly and I got married, and we were jointly in all kinds of actions to do with eliminating racism on campus at Ball State in Muncie, Indiana, sit-ins and so on. And then we moved on to Cincinnati, and we've been in various social actions ever since. But I've often wondered really why I'm the way I am and why other people aren't, in terms of being aware of, it seems like I might have been born with some little extra passion for justice. I don't know. It's a fascinating question.
The activities on campus, all the dormitories were segregated and the restaurants were segregated, and we had this little human relations group, and by the time we left college, the dorms were integrated and so were the restaurants.
So which time period are we talking about?
This was in 48, I think
late 40s and early 50s.
Yeah,
we were married in 49, and it was in that
47,
general
48.
time frame.
Well, I was born up near Chillicothe, Ohio, about 10 miles from there, out in Ross County. My father ran a grain elevator, and there were only 2 or 3 more houses there. He was the head of the Rotary Club and the postmaster. Well, he was the only person there practically. And I had an older brother and sister. My father and mother at the time of their marriage sent out a wedding announcement. The town where they began to set up housekeeping and live, where this elevator was called Storms. And I remember Mother telling me that some of their friends said, well, we've heard that couples have had a rocky time in their marriages, but we never had an announcement that said at home in Storms. So we moved from Storms, Ohio, when I was a year and a half old, to a town, Greenfield, and then when I was 3, we came to Normal, Illinois, which is right outside of Bloomington, Illinois, and he had my father had a grain elevator there. And he was in the worst kind of business as far as his health goes, all the dust and the dirt, because he passed from this life from tuberculosis.
Well, I'm a native Alabamian, as you know, born in Montgomery County, deep in the Black Belt. When I was young, I was brought to Jefferson County, Birmingham. We lived on the edges, outskirts of Birmingham, the mining, coal region at that time. And of course, I was reared by a stepfather. And I was raised up in the rural, country boy. Worked hard, got up early, went to the fields, went to school there in Oxmoor, which was on the edge of Birmingham. It's now within the city limits. And just did the ordinary thing. Went to church there. I was raised up, incidentally, in the Methodist church. I didn't become a Baptist until I went to Mobile, Alabama. And I realized afterwards that it was, I guess, God's way of bringing me up with a sort of independence and interdependence, so I could speak my own mind, not be under a bishop or anybody else who control what I say. We knew that Birmingham was a terrible place. Birmingham had a 3-tiered structure, which was unwritten. One, if the Ku Klux Klan don't stop you, the police will. And if the police miss you, then the courts will. So that for blacks, for poor folk, for Negroes, as we called ourselves then, there was no hope. But we did have hope, and we made up our minds that if death be our destiny, it's better to strive to live better than to just die under the system. And so we began moving. Mr. Connor, Eugene Bull Connor, thought that the jailhouse is the answer to all problems when it comes down to blacks trying to seek freedom and justice. And during the movement, I'm skipping way up, of course, I asked him to let us march just 2 by 2 on the sidewalk, not blocking any doorways or ganging up on the corners, waiting for the lights to cross. Let us march 2 by 2 to redress, to protest grievances. His answer was, I will march you to the Birmingham jail. And then I said, well, I sent back down and said, let us picket then. 2 by 2, no big signs blocking the sidewalk, observing the lights. He said, I will picket you to the Birmingham jail. Now, the Supreme Court quoted these points in one of my many cases, which I won, so that there was nothing negative. We had to fight segregation. Or, as I said, we either must kill segregation or be killed by segregation.